An hour north of Nanaimo and a 10-minute ferry ride to the east is Denman Island, a place that is no stranger to grassroots living. This small northern Gulf island is home to 1,000 residents, many of whom are making a go of homesteading in some way, shape, or form. Some of the older residents are left over from the last movement in the 1960s and 70s, when young, often inexperienced individuals were delving into copies of Harrow Smith magazine and Whole Earth catalog, and deciding they would try their hands at small-scale farming. Few of them lasted. Dennis Lavelle has lived on Denman Island for 35 years. Inspired in part from those very magazines he read as a young man in the 1970s, he and his wife packed up and left Vancouver in 1980, intent on getting away from the confines and consumerism of urban life. Although not completely off the grid, Lavelle is still able to get a good portion of his diet from completely off the land on Denman.
Well, the natives say when the tide is out, the table's set. So we have that. We've got all our mollusks or whatever we can harvest. We have our own garden. We have an orchard. I live on a big piece of property I share with 6 other families. And part of it we lease to a sheep farmer so I can get some lamb from him, and he raises pigs at times.
Lavelle says for people trying to make a go of this lifestyle today, the advances in technology have made it easier than ever for them to stay connected with the world and not feel the sense of being cut off from society that many felt in the 1960s movement.
Another positive thing that has opened up now to people is the fact that they can communicate with the world through the internet. There is no isolation. You carry in your hand all the world's knowledge or whatever, right? It's so easy to be connected. So in some senses, it's easier than ever to get out, of the concrete, maybe, or get out of the pollution, or just go hug a tree, right?
Today's movement towards more sustainable living is not dictated by the hippie subculture and Cold War fears. Those taking part in the lifestyle today are driven more so in an attempt to reconnect with a simpler way of life, says Dr. Tara Moru of UBC's Botanical Gardens.
I think in the 60s and 70s people were really cognizant. There was a lot of issues around war and peace, and that peace movement really drove this alternative movement to return to the land. And now in 2015, I think people are going back to it, not so much for peace, but for connection to the land.
Morrow says 21st century technology has made things considerably easier for today's landers. Rural farmers today are using the internet for tasks ranging from staying in the loop about farming conditions to meeting partners through online dating sites.
Technology is a tool in that way. I think for people who are returning to the land, I know there's really innovative programs where farmers are being informed of pest outbreaks or things that are going on in their field through text messaging. And so technology plays a really important role, I think, in helping keep people better informed.
Rick Havlak is the owner of Homesteaders Emporium in Vancouver, which he opened in the city's downtown east side 3 years ago. Carrying everything from chicken feed to honey extractors, Havlak runs a business catering specifically to those looking to make the back-to-the-land switch, whether in a rural or urban environment.
And when it's full of honey, you scrape the beeswax cappings off and you slide in 2 or 4 of them so it's balanced, and turn the crank, and just the centrifugal force whips the honey out into the sides of the drum, and it drains down, and you've got a special honey gate at the bottom.
Havlak explains that the prevalence of today's technology has helped those interested in homesteading, especially when it comes to the multitude of do-it-yourself projects that go hand in hand with this lifestyle.
It used to be that you go to the library and flip through books, and you just hope that you found something that was relevant to you. But now there's a tremendous amount of information available just with a quick Google search.
When it comes to keeping urban chickens, there are few Vancouver locals more in the know than Duncan Martin. Martin started his business Daily Eggs shortly after the city approved its backyard chicken-keeping bylaw in 2010. He says chickens present many benefits to their keepers, besides their eggs, including providing natural fertilizer and keeping the insect population under control. And of course, the novelty that comes along with owning any pet.
Even certain friends, they're just fun to be around. You come home and you can just kind of hang out and listen to them make their noises and watch them interact with each other.
And of course, technology has not left this age-old practice untouched. Whether it be collaborating with other owners online or finding equipment on online shopping sites, choices technology presents to today's chicken keepers are almost limitless.
In Vancouver, there's a whole community online of chicken keepers. You can find out where to get certain materials and feed, and on eBay you can get little gadgets for it. So it allows people to have this kind of sub-community online where they're giving each other advice, or they're saying, hey, I've got too many chickens, does anybody need one? Or I'm going out to the Fraser Valley with the truck, I'm going to buy a bunch of straw, and everyone can kind of collaborate that way. So technology is definitely helping in a lot of ways.
Martin explains that a friend of his has developed a computer-based program called the Chicken Tender, which allows users to keep tabs on their plumed pets when away from home.
Computer-based, it uses, I think, Raspberry Pi technology that actually lets you keep tabs on your chicken coop. I mean, this is for the real nut who wants to look at the temperature of their coop and have a webcam on it, and maybe even operate a little door to let the chickens in and out. So people can go as crazy as they want with it.
Of course, in the end, aside from the internet and readily available gadgets, practicing self-sufficient living comes down to just one thing: being self-sufficient, something humans have been attempting for thousands of years. It just so happens that the 21st century is making that practice easier than ever.
When almost everything we consume is just bought with money, people naturally feel really good about being able to create something of their own, especially something so basic as their own food.